Are we ready, Marion? Okay, we're going to go ahead and get this work session, Tuesday, September 28th, called to order at 10 a.m. Mr. Bolzomi, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance today?
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everyone. We're going to start out a regular agenda item 2A, information discussion regarding the current activities and projects of the Industrial Development Authority of the Gila County IDA, including a discussion on the legal opinion from the County Attorney's Office regarding the rights and authorities of the IDA and the level of reporting and accountability to the Board of Supervisors. Mr. James Minlove.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We are going to start with an update from the IDA. Sandy Palmer, Executive Director of the Gila County Industrial Development Authority, is here, has prepared a PowerPoint to give an update on the activities of the Industrial Development Authority and to let us know the projects and things that they're working on. So if, with your permission, Mr. Chairman, would like to turn the time to Ms. Palmer.
Yeah. Good morning, Sandy.
Good morning.
How are you today? And
well,
Robert Pastor is with you.
Yes.
Good to see both of you. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you. Just go ahead and move them here. Okay, so we wanted to start with just a brief introduction to what an Industrial Development Authority is. We're a political subdivision of the state of Arizona that serves to promote development by being the issuing agency for bonds for private economic activities. The fees from these bonds are paid to the IDA, which uses them for other economic development activities. So the county, schools, government, hospitals, mine, private industry, anyone in our county who needs bonds, we're hoping that they'll come to the IDA because we do reinvest in the community. Okay, next slide. So the IDA's mission statement, the Gila County Industrial Development Authority is committed to expanding the economic development and business enterprise for Gila County, Arizona. The primary mission of the IDA is to secure and apply resources that promote the retention, expansion, and attraction of business and commercial enterprise in Gila County and to expand employment opportunities. The IDA is committed to supporting projects that impact the social, cultural, environmental, and physical needs of Gila County and therefore improving the quality of life for its citizens. Sorry, I have allergies, so if I cough or need to clear my throat for a moment. During a planning meeting in 2014, the IDA board conducted a SWOT analysis and discussed the economic climate of Gila County. The board committed to pursue projects and resources aimed at improving economic conditions through three main pillars, which are diversifying the economy, generating pass-through tax revenue, and business retention and expansion. As we know, any community that is dependent upon a single industry needs to diversify. So thankfully right now the mines are doing well, but that may not always be the case, and it's cyclical. So one of the projects that the IDA identified during that planning meeting was the need to capitalize on the wealth of Gila County's natural assets and to tap into the multi-billion-dollar tourism industry. So which we know it was a very fortuitous timing with COVID. We had our tourism website ready to go, and that was a boon for Gila County during the pandemic. It really helped bolster our pass-through tax revenue. So this project hit all three pillars that the IDA identified. It expanded tourism industry, generated pass-through tax revenue, and supported our small businesses. So we do have a phase 2 and a phase 3 for this campaign, and we'll come back when we're ready to pursue those grant funds. So for the sake of time, we're highlighting one of the projects that we're working on. So this project hits all 3 pillars: industry diversification. It generates pass-through tax revenue, supports local businesses, workforce development, and it also spurs redevelopment. So to put in context, the project that we're working on right now, it's, as you know, the government is getting ready to release an awful lot of grant funding. So this is an EDA grant, the Build Back Better grant. So to provide context, Arizona Commerce Authority, they're doing an amazing job recruiting businesses from around the country and internationally. And with all the new businesses flocking to Arizona, this increases the demand on qualified workforce. It creates an opportunity for locals to seek an education for these quality jobs. So in working with this grant, we're working with the Arizona State Director for Trade and Apprenticeship Programs. He said he had a construction program that had 60 spots to fill, and he was shocked that he received 780 applicants for those 60 spots. So he had to turn away 720 applicants who wanted to enroll in this construction trade program. And he said one of his challenges, he works very closely with Arizona Commerce Authority. It's his job to train workforce and make sure when the Commerce Authority promises these industries coming to Arizona that we have qualified workforce, it's on him to make sure that he has qualified workforce. And he said there's a disconnect. They're promising a great qualified workforce, and it doesn't quite exist yet, some but not all. So that's causing people to move to Arizona to fill those positions. So this is the grant that we are pursuing. Let's see, so it's EDA's Build Back Better grant. It promotes economic growth and diversification, education, job creation, and expansion. So the idea with this under this grant, it's a very significant grant. The first phase, the technical assistance portion, is $500,000, and the application is due October 19th. If you're awarded that grant, it goes into the second phase, which is due March 15th, and that's anywhere from 25 to 100 million. So in this is a very, very large, complex grant, and we have been working with partners in both the North and the South. We've identified the projects and working with the partners. So it's a regional. There can be 3 to 8 projects within the scope of this grant. The larger, the better. And so there's a lot of benefit with partnering North and South. It really helps meet all the criteria and kind of fit all the bullet points. So the goal with this, it will create economic diversification by establishing another industry. As you're most likely all aware of the wonderful job that they're doing up north with the campus project. So we met with them and identified a few projects that they would like to seek funding for under this grant. And then on the south side, we've been meeting with partners with Freeport, the Arizona State Director for Trade and Apprenticeship Programs, and others, the college, to identify projects on the south to launch a trade school program. So this will open up educational and training opportunities for our own youth, but we're also building dormitories on both sides. That will be a project on both sides. So we're hoping students will relocate to the area, which will create a college town type vibe in both places. So the more the students coming to the area, there will be patrons for restaurants, the shops, gyms, and other services. It will increase tax revenue by expanding the tax base. So one of the, peripheral effects that we hope to have on this is the challenge that the mines and the local employers have with finding not only qualified workforce, but also those who can pass a drug test and remain good, solid employees. So according to the Arizona Youth Survey conducted by the Criminal Justice Commission, a large percentage of the youth in Gila County said they use drugs to avoid feeling hopeless and to cope with stress. There's also a low commitment to school and academic failure rank high, as well as using drugs for antisocial behaviors. So we're hopeful that kind of the residual impact of establishing the education and training destination and having students from outside of the area, it'll serve as encouragement to the youth of our communities to focus on their education and trades and, to enjoy fellowshipping and having social interaction with other students who are focused on their career, their vocation. So the benefits we see of this project would be industry diversification, spurring redevelopment on both the north and south, increase tax revenue, support local businesses, create jobs, develop a qualified workforce, and overall to improve quality of life for residents. So that is the big project that we're focusing on that has a deadline of October 19th. And then if we're awarded that, then we'll really be focused on getting the application in for March 15th.
Okay. Thank you. Supervisor Christensen, questions, comments?
Thank you, Sandy. Good presentation. I'm kind of new at this, so my brain is foggy most of the time. So you're working generally just in Gila County, right? That's
correct.
The focus is there. So do we pay you? Do we hire you? Is that what, or is this is a separate entity?
Yeah, several years ago, the IDA received proceeds from a bond issue to ASARCO, and the IDA has been independently operating on the proceeds of that bond. So we've been using that money to leverage. Most grants come with a 20% match, so we've been using that to leverage the grants that we're pursuing.
Okay. And so if you get the grant and you apply for more and all that, are you looking at like county-wide stuff, or like you talked about education, schools, tourism, yeah, and then you would just start looking at ways to spend that money profitably.
Yes. The majority of the grants, the eligibility is on Southern Gila County. Northern Gila County doesn't fit the criteria for most state and federal grants. It's according to census tracts, median household income, poverty level, which we have in Southern Gila County, not so much in Northern. That's one benefit of having the North and the South in this particular grant, because we can use the data from Southern to help secure the grant.
Okay,
for the Northern as
so
well.
a lot of your decisions are based on struggling businesses or struggling areas.
Yes.
Which says, so you're saying the North is not as struggling.
There are a lot of needs up there. There were a couple grants that we were able to secure in the South, and then we asked for permission to do some programs in the North.
Okay.
So we try to whenever we can.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
all right. Thank you, Sandy.
Yeah.
Supervisor Klein.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Sandy, for the presentation. I do have some questions. One is, as far as this EDA grant that you guys are looking at and the school programs, the dormitories and stuff like that, where have you located to put those if you're awarded this grant?
We have been working with the college board, members of the college board, and they do have some property. There are also some other private buildings, some of the former schools in Southern Gila County, some of Dr. Wilt's properties, if you're familiar, that we can retrofit and make dorms. So in Northern, of course, you have the MHA Foundation and all the great work that they've done. So they don't need as much help up there. They've identified all their projects. They've done a tremendous job. In the South, we're going to have to really dig in there. If we're awarded the $500,000, part of that is used to hire the consultants that will need, the engineers, the architects, and to really get a solidified plan together. So in Southern Gila County, there is some land that the college has, and they might be dispersed throughout the community where we can with them.
So another part of this, when I look at the trade school program, you know, we have that program going through our college here over there in Miami.
Yes.
So what do you guys do to help promote that along? Have you helped them or worked with them at all to just build off of that instead of building something totally new?
No, this is working with them. They are one of our partners, and it would be to strengthen the current programs and augment and create additional programs. So yes, they are one of our partners. They're working with us on this.
Okay, the other question that I have for you, and we're always focused on the mines. Every time we turn around, and the mines are a huge factor to our communities. But one of these days, the mines may not be here. Then what are we going to do? So what are you guys doing to bring other industry into Gila County?
Well, this is one of them. This would be education. It would create an education destination. So students from around Arizona and around the country, wherever, of course, Payson would have the four-year universities, the Multiversity Project. So students who were pursuing that sort of educational path, they could go up there. Down south, it would be more of a vocational trades program down here. So it would be a destination location on both sides, depending on the student and what they're looking for. So we would market both programs.
So with that in mind, have you guys reached out and done any surveys as to how many of these people, this youth would even be interested in
Yes.
coming to Gila County versus Phoenix, Flagstaff?
Well,
Tucson?
as I mentioned, we're working with the Arizona State Director for Apprenticeship and Trade Programs. He has a lot of students coming to him who are desperate to get in a program. They have nowhere to go. He doesn't have anywhere to send them. The few programs that he has are at capacity. So the program that I mentioned, he had 60 spots, and he received 780 applications. And he said that was very discouraging for him. He had nowhere to send the other 720 applicants, and that was a construction trades program.
I asked you these questions because we work with the youth program in the county, and we have hard time filling positions. And so there's a lot to the youth side of it, and there's a lot to whether or not Gila County would attract those individuals. And the way I look at it is if you go out there and you put all that money into it and then you don't get the response, it's not going to be a good deal. But going back to industry, okay, so let's say this is one of the industries, but what other industries? I mean, we're sitting here in Gila County that we don't have a lot of industry going in here. So if we take something like this and let's say you put it together and you train these folks up, where are they going to go?
Wherever the jobs take them, most likely. We are hopeful, and we're working with Freeport on this, and they're really excited to have a base of qualified applicants that they can fill positions. They have a lot of positions they cannot fill. So we hope to retain as many as we can if we have jobs for them. But in working with other companies and trying to recruit industry and value-added industry to this area, repeatedly, that's a wall that we hit is we don't have the qualified workforce. Why would they spend the money to relocate here if they can't attract employees? And we're close enough to the valley, but just far enough away that it presents a challenge.
So I understand that, but it's not unique to just Gila County.
Correct.
I travel all over, and everywhere I go, it's the same story. We cannot get qualified help. We don't get anybody that wants to apply, on and on and on. And it's just a change, I think, in our society right now. And so a lot of my questions are kind of geared towards that to you. And I know you keep going back to Freeport or Resolution or Asarco, whatever, and I get it. The mines are a big driving factor in Gila County, but we got to start working towards something else as well. To help them, I'm 100% behind it. But we really got to look at other industries. So that's my biggest focus, I guess, if you want to say. So thank you.
Yes.
I just have one question. On these grants, what makes us a good candidate to receive this grant? I mean, I'm sure for that kind of money and that kind of education, there's probably a lot of people or a lot of entities applying for the grant. I'm just wondering what would make us stick out more than, say, Maricopa or Pima County, where there's building houses after houses after houses.
Yes, both of the questions that you're asking, that's something that we have to prove very strongly in our application. So that's what we're working on right now to build a really strong case. Fortunately for us, the campus project up north, they've done a tremendous job. They've done years and years and years of work and brought that project forward. And so we'll get the benefit of the leverage of all the work that they've done in our application for those particular projects. down south here, this has kind of been percolating on the back burner for a while, so we have done a lot of the legwork. So now it's just a matter of bringing it together. So we are working with Wilson and Engineering on this grant. They're helping us with the grant application, and they have a success ratio of about 80% of the grants that they pursue. They only pursue grants that they feel very passionately that they have a strong chance of securing. So they are working with us on this project, and they feel we have a very strong chance. And as you mentioned, there's the EDA, they're expecting 20 to 30 awards from this program. So yes, we're competing with a lot of people, and there are very few awards, but we're going to give it a shot.
There's no second or third place in this, right? It's
Well,
either
there's 20 to 30 awards.
Okay, there'll be 20 or 30 awards.
20 to 30,
Okay.
depending, because there's a sliding scale on the amount that you pursue.
Okay. Okay, I have no further questions for Sandy. Sandy, thank you. And Mr. Minlove, if you'd like, we can go on with.
My turn. Is that okay?
We can go on with your turn, yes, sir.
Thank you, James.
So that the public knows, and those that are in the audience and on Facebook or on YouTube, I just handed out a summary of kind of the purpose of the IDA and also the officers of the IDA board. There are 9 officers of the Industrial Development Authority Board in Gila County, 3 from each supervisory district, so 3 from District 1, 3 from 2, and 3 from 3. It gives staggered terms in the statutes. They're originally designated that you would have assigned somebody to have a 2-year, 3 people to have 2-year terms, 3 people 4-year terms, and 3 people 6-year terms. You can see they're kind of have gotten out of that rotation. I don't know that there's necessarily a required that you have, but they are supposed to be staggered so that all of the board of directors do not turn over all at one time. The second thing, and it also indicated that in, was it April? August 7th, 1972, that the Industrial Development Authority of Gila County was organized. Goes through an organization an organization comes, requests from the Board of Supervisors to organize an entity, an Industrial Development Authority, and then that it is, the Board of Supervisors approves and authorizes the creation of the IDA. Now the IDA is a little bit different from, sorry, getting into kind of some technical terms here, but understanding the IDA and what they are, what they do, that the Industrial Development Authority is created, is organized, and authorized by the Gila County Board of Supervisors. There is this difference from other special districts that we have in county. For example, we have a Gila County Library District that there is a Library District Board of Directors, and you as the sitting Board of Supervisors are also the Board of Directors for the Library District, the Flood District, and any other special districts that we have in the county. Industrial Development Authority Board is, after it's created, is its own corporation, and it has authorities to go into debt, sell bonds, to purchase and acquire assets, real estate, or anything that helps with the flow of doing the business that they do of enhancing or furthering economic, well, I'll say furthering growth and enhancement in businesses within Gila County. So the statutes that are related to the Industrial Development Authority, I won't bore you with those, but they are in Title 35, which is of the statutes called Public Finances. And Chapter 5 is Industrial Development Financing. So it goes through the incorporation process, what we did in August of 1972, went through that incorporation, goes through bonds, what the bonds of the corporation are, what they're issued. There's a section there on that they are tax exempt, and that's what the benefit to a business is. As Sandy said, that there's ASARCO was able to work with the IDA. IDA was able to sell tax exempt bonds, which is a reduced, it comes at a reduced interest rate. So instead of a company may have to borrow at 5%, and IDA bonds may sell at 3.5% because of the tax implications. And so it can be a great savings for businesses to be able to go through the IDA and be able to utilize this tool that has been authorized by statute. Article 3 of Chapter 5 talks about the exemption from taxation, and that there is a separation, that the IDA, whatever debt that they issue, is not guaranteed or any assurance from the county. So the county is not liable for any of the debts that may be incurred of selling bonds. It's an entity of themselves, and the liability, any liabilities lie upon the IDA. There's some other things it talks about, but it gets into corporations and also a lot to do with financing, funding student loans. So they can sell bonds to finance student loans and those types of things. Any questions to this point on the legal boring stuff?
Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you. No, I have no questions.
Supervisor Klein.
So James, once it was established in 72, the county put forth and established the IDA, right? Mm-hmm. And then once it became its own corporation, its own entity, then it's kind of like its own sole purpose or whatever.
It is. They are a separate corporation that is still considered a separate legal government entity that in the process of plans that the IDA has, the IDA, if they're going to do some bonding, they're supposed to come back to the Board of Supervisors to submit a plan to the board for approval for the plan, but has to be done within 45 days, because if they submit a plan to the Board of Supervisors for the board to review and approve without taking action, then it's, I guess, unwritten that it's the Board of Supervisors gives consent for that program.
Okay, and then the fact that we appoint the members on the board, on the IDA board, is just another way that the county stays involved with the IDA, basically.
Yes. I think it's critical that it's not elected offices to be on the board of directors, but appointed by the Board of Supervisors to be the board of directors, the 9-member board that we have here in Gila County.
Thanks.
Okay. I did want to, got a letter addressed to Chairman Humphrey within the last few days, last Friday. If, Ms. Chairman, if you didn't mind, I'd like to read that.
No, go ahead.
Some questions from the public. Dear Supervisor Humphrey, I am pleased to see that you are interested in throwing some light on IDA and what is within its charter. For some time I have wondered myself, and in the past could not find a website. I spent some time yesterday looking for a website, and there was some things on Facebook that I found. Last posting on Facebook was by our previous PIO, Autumn Giles. That was posted back in 2017. So there's not a lot of current information as far as the website and things that have been posted. a little bit of background information of the things that I've discussed and that Sandy has presented. So what I'm reaching toward is contained in the additional parts of the letter. It is hoped that when the 9 members were appointed by each district board of supervisor, 3 each, that the nominees' main areas of interest and other outside positions they may still serve were discussed with nominee boards, commissions, and committees. This would be to satisfy and protect the county that there is no likelihood now or in the future of a potential conflict of interest. I believe this is getting at that we don't have somebody on the IDA board that's trying to that's got a conflict of interest. They're involved with a business, something that we have to sign as individuals within Gila County, conflict of interest. We have to identify annually who are companies that we deal with and have a financial interest in. And that's what this, I believe, is getting at, is making sure that there's no conflict of interest, a financial interest in selling bonds, going into debt for a particular business that has somebody on the board has a financial interest in. It is noted that location for notices and meeting agendas for IDA are posted in the glass case. So the glass case that is being referred to here is outside here, the same place where is the official, well, it goes on to say on the west wall of Gila County Courthouse in Globe. This does not aid residents who live in northern Gila County. Certainly today, such notices could include being posted online, maybe on county website with a link to IDA. Given that the postings occur on county property, I would like to think that there is also a requirement for IDA to record and post minutes of their actual meetings. So there's a glass case out here, which is the official place for Gila County to post all of our meetings and minutes and agendas, everything like that. We want to work with the IDA to make sure that that there's a digital posting of meetings so that there's ample notice, and that there is, I don't know that we necessarily put out minutes, but they are available electronically online. After the board approves the Board of the Gila County meeting minutes, then those are available online through Marion and Missy. And we want to make sure that we have minutes available. They are public documents. They are a governmental entity, and so they are all public documents that can be requested and can be made available for anybody that is interested.
So, Mr. Minlove, you were saying that at this point, the people are complaining that there's not minutes that can be read from the Industrial Development Authority meetings?
I have not verified or checked, but it appears that in my search through the internet that the minutes of meetings are not posted online.
Okay.
And I did want to point out too that for the Industrial Development Authority that need to make sure that that we follow the open meeting laws. And I'm not sure if the IDA board has had training on open meeting laws and what that means, that if even though there's a 9-member board, if there's 2 people that are getting together and to discuss business, then that is a violation of the open meeting laws. So they need to follow all of those state statutes with open meeting laws and make sure that everything is put out in the open. That's the thing we have with governmental entities. Jessica, Mr. Chairman, if that's okay.
Chairman
Yes,
Humphrey.
go ahead.
Yes, so in regard to notice of the meeting, if they have a disclosure statement on a website indicating that they're going to go ahead and post the notice in the glass case, technically that's sufficient with the statute. There is another part of the statute. The verbiage of it, it says that the board shall give additional notice as is reasonable and practical. So I think with our day and age, it is reasonable and practical for us to put it somewhere online. So I think moving forward, that should probably be the goal. We want to be as transparent as we can be. In regard to the minutes, the statute does say the minutes or a recording of the meeting shall be available for the public inspection 3 working days after the meeting, except as otherwise specifically provided in the article. So there's some exceptions, but we do want to have those minutes or the recording of the minutes available to the public 3 working days after.
I may need to run and hide, but Sandy, Marion, and Missy, they are geniuses. They're fabulous at doing all this, at getting things out on the web, and perhaps between the two of you, if there's anything that we need, then these are the experts, and they're so good that I don't have to worry about any of it. It is taken care of. So,
Chairman Humphrey, Mr. Minlove, if I may, I do believe we do have a disclosure statement on file, and I don't follow up to see that the agendas and notices are posted to those locations. But if a citizen calls me, then they say, where are the minutes and agendas and notices of the IDA? I say, well, the disclosure statement says this. So I can reference that. But if I may ask Ms. Palmer, do you have your own website?
Sandy, if you could step up, please, so that everybody can hear, because we're on YouTube as well.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Yes, we did for several years, and I thought we were incorporated into the Discover Gila County. I thought there was a page for the IDA, so I thought we moved away from our independent website because that was a fee, a monthly and annual fee, and I thought we had, I haven't looked at it myself for a while, but I thought we had a tab on the Discover Gila County. So when you search, it should navigate to that tab, but we can very easily. We have a brilliant web designer, so we can very easily post a standalone if we need to. We had it for several years, and there just really was never any traffic or interest. We were never contacted through it, so it was just a fee that we thought funds are dwindling, and we have this Discover Gila County, so we just popped on to a tab on Discover Gila County. But we can absolutely do that.
Okay.
And if I may, I
Go
can
ahead.
certainly help you, but
Thank you.
the Board of Supervisors does have a policy they adopted many years ago on boards, commissions, and committees of the board. And I'm not always certain of the IDA, so I can maybe ask Jessica. But for the many years, it's to have the disclosure statement on file in my office, to have that posted, I thought, on the IDA's website, and then every agenda and every public notice, whether you combine it or not. Okay. And then part of the policy requires that every board, commission, and committee present to me an agenda, a meeting agenda within 24 hours of posting, and also the official minutes. So over the years, I have worked with Ms. Palmer, and I have gotten some, but not all.
Yeah, so we'll go through and get all that together and post it wherever it needs to be. And if there is a glass case in Payson, we can definitely post our agendas and notices up there.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah,
When we when we get that building finished, we'll build a glass case, providing it's within budget. Sandy, thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Minlove.
Mr. Chairman, I don't want to make the IDA feel like we are giving them a whole bunch more things to do. Between Mr. Pastor and Ms. Palmer, that the IDA can do really good things and has done good things in Gila County. We want to make sure that the story is told so that the public can be aware of what's going on, what the IDA is doing, how it's benefiting the citizens of Gila County. And so that's why I wanted to go through things, and the board wanted to go through these things. I hope we're hitting what we wanted to. But that The one other thing I did want to identify is that our county attorney's office, I do not believe will represent the IDA, that the IDA in doing bonds and whatever things that they legally have to do need to have their own legal counsel. Is that right, Jessica?
Yes, they are a separate entity. In the past, there have been specific research projects that the county has gotten involved in, but that is mostly in regard to asking the county for funds. So if we're not contributing any sort of funds, then the Board of Supervisors is not going to be involved in that process. So in essence, yes, they would need to have their own legal counsel.
Okay. So our county attorney is not involved with the IDA, does not provide legal counsel. It would be a conflict of interest for them to do so because they are incurring debt and other things that do not involve the county. Wanted to point out with the Ms. Palmer, what she just described as an educational and working for these grants to further education, that fits very well into what we are working on as a county of developing a training program for the youth, kids in high school, that as they grow up, they can go through the trades, and those that are interested in that, and be able to, that we can do internships through the county and other things that will help them along as they go through their education to get them a well-rounded education, hopefully to provide a knowledge to these youth that they have a career path in Gila County and that they can raise their families here and have all the good things that we know there are in Gila County available to them. And I've met with the Eastern Arizona College Board, different people with the Eastern Arizona College about developing a program, a curriculum, and I always refer to it as needing a champion, somebody that can spearhead it and drive it, that I don't believe anyone has the time or necessarily the experience to be able to put together a curriculum, put together an entire program of developing all the different slots that we have for operating heavy equipment, for legal assistance and the judicial system that we have, for nurses that we desperately need in the medical field all the time, for office workers and future leaders of Gila County. We've got the baby boomers that are moving on in the not too distant future, and it is our responsibility in Gila County to develop those that can move into leadership roles of the county. And so to develop all this with a curriculum and what that means, what the course offerings have to be able to work, I believe it can benefit both Gila County and Gila County Community College Provisional District to have us work with GCC so that there's benefit in their, what they call full-time student equivalents or numbers that give them the amount of state support that they get. That is also called FTSE, and to help the college in that way, and we get the benefit of training youth and current employees. And then, as I said, developing a program of where do you go in your career development that can say, yeah, you can work for 20, 30, 40. I think we just had celebrate as someone that worked with the county 45 years. So there are good career paths that we have, and we need to be able to give those individuals that live in Gila County the opportunity to find success, and those that currently work for Gila County the opportunity to find success. So as with government, sometimes it takes a while to get all the players together, and we definitely want to work with the Industrial Development Authority. We've had discussions with them also of the program, of the plan that they have of getting these grants and being able to develop these technical programs, housing, and that would be a great asset, a great benefit to Gila County. So that's an exciting opportunity, and I think it's very well needed. That should be favorably viewed. And as Ms. Palmer said, that the Wilson Company is putting that together, working with them to ensure that our best efforts are put forward. So, I believe that's the things that I wanted to discuss and needed to discuss with you this morning. Would entertain any questions or comments.
I believe I have some questions, but they will be probably directed back towards Sandy for myself. Do you have any questions, Supervisor Christensen, Supervisor Klein?
I think I'm good.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you very much. And Sandy, if I may ask a couple questions. I think it's great that you're reaching for this grant. I was just wondering if you want to boast about some accomplishments over the last couple of years. Or
Sure. Well, we are just, as of this month, actually, wrapping up. We had a 2-year Water Smart grant through the Bureau of Reclamation. Through that, we were able to establish a watershed partnership and identify some goals in the area. That was the first phase according to the Bureau of Reclamation. Now that we have that done, we can move on to pursuing phase 2 grants, which are for project implementation. So we're working with our consultant and those that the steering committee on that, the group that we put together, the Cobra Valley Watershed Partnership, to pursue funding for some of those projects. Water diversification is a big one here in this area. So there are some fun projects that we can work on as well. A community lake, the Pinnell Creek project. Those are some of the projects that the Bureau of Reclamation would fund. But the first step was getting the phase 1 and establishing the watershed partnership. So we're wrapping up that grant actually the end of this month, in the next few days here. We're also wrapping up, we had a brownfields grant through the EPA that we've had for a few years and did quite a few phase 1, phase 2 assessments. Under our grant, we were only able to do the phase 1, phase 2. With the grant that the county has, it's called a mixed use, a MUD grant. So you're able to do phase 1, phase 2, some cleanup, as well as some economic activities. So that's a really exciting grant that the county has. And we have several years of kind of trial and error and experience running our grants. Would be really happy to work with the county to best use your funds and help you avoid some of the things that we found were not the best choice initially, but we navigated through it. But there are some ways that you can leverage and do a lot more with your funds being a mixed use grant. We're really excited about phase 2 and phase 3 of our outdoor tourism. And we're pursuing some funding on that to get moving forward. That's a huge presentation in its own. So we'll come back for that to show that to you and to get a letter of support when we're ready to pursue those grant funds. Am I forgetting anything? Over the years, we've had some USDA-funded technical assistance programs for small business training. We did a few of those in northern Gila County that were really successful with the small businesses, teaching them marketing, social media, bookkeeping, business planning. And we had a revolving loan program that has helped several small businesses here in the county. And we're looking at applying for another round of funding there to help some more small businesses.
Okay. Well, thank you. Yeah, I just thought I'd give you an opportunity to express what you've been doing. And also, too, your meetings with the COVID thing, are you still having your meetings on Zoom? You having meetings that you meet here or something?
The last meeting was our first meeting back after COVID, I believe, and we were here in person.
Okay, good. Yeah, because I would like to attend your meetings and off and on as we go forward. And if there's anything that we can do to help, we'd be happy to.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Just wanted to add that the county is sponsoring a business incubator site at the Michelson Building downtown. We're looking on a second round of bids. We did the bids for renovation of that facility and got no responses. So we have met with contractors and are looking for resubmitted bids, and hopefully that comes in sometime in the middle of to end of next month of October, and looking for office space for office space been set aside for Ms. Palmer and the IDA in that business incubator center, so that kind of consolidates and gets that energy going of the things that can develop and create the energy we need for businesses in Gila County.
Okay, thank you. If there's no further questions or comments, then we'll move on. You're fine. Okay. All right, regular agenda item 2B, information discussion to consider draft human resources administrative procedures, merit system rules, policies that would place the current Gila County merit system rules and procedures. Mr. Alan Bolsolmi. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Menlove. Nice to see you all again. It's nice and cool outside, by the way. It wasn't a month ago. Thank you for letting me get an opportunity to talk about this. I wanted to make sure that I was the one that presented it because I put all the work into getting, and I didn't want everybody else to get confused. And I'm sure you've all gone a little bit blind trying to read them. That red line versions are very difficult to read. I wish there was a better way to do it, but there really isn't. The saving grace is when you finally get the next one, it'll be very pretty. It'll all be in black ink. You'll have all the histories on there and have all the punctuation correct and the spacing correct. Because the easy part is to go through and accept all the changes. Again, when I think I mentioned before, the whole idea about doing this was, number one, it hasn't been done in a long time. Number two was to make sure that we had merit rules and board policies and administrative procedures that were actually in the right areas. When I took a look at your merit rules originally, there was a lot of stuff in there that had nothing to do with how you get hired, how you stay hired, and how you get fired, or get gone, or retire, or go on leave. And that's typically where the merit falls, is you want those types of things in those areas. And everything else is a board policy. So we kind of moved it around. I have a crosswalk that is very extensive that shows what goes from where to where. And that will be used to build the history on each one of these. And if you have any questions, I'm here to try to answer them.
Supervisor Christensen.
Yes, thank you, Alan. I do have some questions, and I did read through all of this. I only slipped into a coma twice. And most of this is not to try and correct anything, but just for me to help understand why we're doing some of these changes. So just right off the bat, page 1, we're scratching out employment shall be based upon personal capabilities and qualifications without discrimination of race, color, religion, etc. Now, does that show up somewhere else, or I'm not sure why we're scratching that?
Which, I'm sorry, where are you at?
Very first page. It's the HRS 100, page 1.
Yes, it actually falls in for the rest of the policy. Actually, if you take employee responsibility, those 5 points actually replace the points 1 and 2.
Okay, but I don't see in the first 5 points anything about race, color, religion, sex, national origin, all the other things.
Supervisor Christensen, I believe that they're adding the red. Those are additions.
Okay, thank you. Why is there a line through it then?
That probably could be an error. It looks like I got a little wild with the strikeout. I went a little too far with the strikeout. So those will be put back in.
Okay. And right above that then, the stuff that's been added, number 2, it says respect the difference of others. You probably mean differences, but what do you mean by respect? It seems very subjective. What are the differences?
It is a little subjective. Actually, it's a lot subjective.
Yes.
The difference of others has to do with gender, preference, religion, race. Is everybody's to respect each other's differences.
Right, and we are all different, so you could
Yes.
actually just say respect others.
Right.
And so it's subjective. That's what I'm
It is.
wondering.
It
It's
really is.
like, what does it mean to be respectful? So anyway, and right below that it
It's aimed at
says,
keeping people from targeting other groups and treating them
yeah.
disproportionately.
No, I understand what you're after. I'm just saying, when it's written on paper, you have to be able to
Yep.
somehow evaluate when someone is being disrespectful, and that's a very subjective thing. Anyway, then it says contribute to a harassment-free environment. And, you know, there again, harassment, that's kind of subjective. Someone might feel they're being harassed.
So
Sort
it
of
goes
thing.
back to the reasonable test, and I think the attorney will tell you that what a reasonable person would think is harassment is typically where it falls, or what a reasonable person would think is non-harassment.
Yes, okay. Let me just look here. I've got 12 of these things, believe it or not.
Okay?
Mr. Chairman, can I make a comment
You may.
on that particular thing about harassment and those kinds of things? That's why we have a personnel commission that if you go through it with an employee and typical disciplinary action, that at any point that can be the employee that's being disciplined or whatever, or if there's harassment, not feeling it's not being addressed at the management level, then there's a personnel commission that consists of an outside county people that are independent and can identify, whether it is harassment or any other issues that we have with our employment, our HR practices and policies. So,
Okay. Thank you. Over
Continue,
here,
Supervisor Christensen.
HRS 115, Americans with Disabilities. You scratched everything. Is that purposed? The entire section is scratched?
We rewrote the whole thing.
And you rewrote the whole thing? Okay.
was easier.
All right. That's just what I wanted to know.
Let me go back. The one you were reading from before was an administrative procedure. If you flip back to Board Policy 100, you'll see the unlawful discrimination language is left in that one.
It's
So-
prohibited?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's in there.
Yeah,
This is an
okay.
admin procedure, so it's just how you do that.
Yeah.
But the procedure is actually the language that says it's unlawful.
Okay. Well, it was just scratched out. That's what I was wondering there. So,
On the American Disabilities Act, because it changes frequently, this one needs to be reviewed frequently. Oh, sorry.
You might explain how policy and procedure, they aren't together in this, but
Right.
they will be together in the book.
Right. The admin procedures are presented for information only because those are procedures that the county manager is going to authorize to back up your board policies. Your policy will say what the policy is, and then the procedure will say, this is what you have to do to meet that policy.
okay.
and Mr. Chairman, in the past, it had been that we'd put the policy and the procedure together. And so when that is brought to the board for authorization or approval, then all those procedures have to come back to the board to change the way something gets from A, B, C, D, and E. If by taking those out, that they're just a procedure to accomplish the policy that the board sets, it makes it so that it's a workflow type of thing that's easier for the departments to be able to accomplish the policy.
It makes it easier to change the guidelines on how to achieve the policy without readopting the whole policy,
Okay.
which in this state, what the legislature likes to pass about 2,000 laws a year. It affects us quite a bit, or you as a county quite a bit. One little change could cause you to change your whole policy when all you really need to do is change one paragraph in administrative procedure to make it compliant.
Okay.
If it's written in black, it's pre-existing, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'll just move on to that here. this is a good one. Drugs and alcohol. And that's HRS 140. Okay. Is medical marijuana, it's listed as cannabis, right? Mm-hmm. And so, let me get over here. I think I got another reference over here. Yeah, all the way over here to page 17 of this same HRS 140. It's controlled substance. Is heroin and cocaine a controlled substance?
Yes,
It is.
yes.
So they're not just outright illegal.
Well,
Someone can prescribe you
you
heroin.
can be prescribed heroin and cocaine in different chemical versions.
Okay. I didn't know that. And cannabis is
Morphine's a controlled substance. We prescribe that a lot.
so and
Most hospitals survive on morphine.
and then cannabis would be just sort of like the big umbrella for marijuana and hemp and all of those things, right? Okay.
And they're being treated in here. They're being treated the same as any opioid that you would take as a prescription. A lot of people use medical marijuana. Well,
Right.
A lot of people use OxyContin. You're not supposed to be at work when you're on Oxy. You're not supposed to drive a vehicle when you're on Oxy. You shouldn't be driving a vehicle when you're on medical marijuana, especially a county vehicle.
Or heroin.
Or, yeah.
Okay. LSD, is that okay or no?
I think that's
Methamphetamines.
illegal now, too.
So, okay, I've skipped forward now to conflict of interest, HRS 155. So it looks like you're adding language, a person related by marriage, including domestic partner, you have in parentheses. So this is something I think you've added, domestic partner.
Yes.
And this is with regard to hiring and having a conflict of interest. How do you then know that someone is a domestic partner? You've added that in there, but I don't understand how you're going to determine that.
The legal definition is they've registered domestic partners with the state.
Okay, so there's a paperwork trail involved with that. Okay, all right.
Which domestic partner is actually slowly going out because of illegal marriages between same-sex marriages, and the same-sex marriages are replacing the domestic partnerships.
Okay, so it would become a marriage at that point.
It could. Yeah.
Okay.
Some of them have.
All right.
There's also insurance ramifications.
Does our insurance, this is a side question, so our insurance carrier allow for the addition of a domestic partner or something like that?
If it's a registered one, yes.
It is, okay. So that's kind of like a law we have to follow.
This was rewritten hopefully to try to make it very distinct of what a relative is.
Okay.
And what degree you have to go out.
Okay. Oh, here's one, compensation plan, HRS 175, page 1. Scratched out is the compensation plan is established, controlled, and maintained by authority of the Board of Supervisors. And that's been scratched. That's item number 1.
Oh, that's actually in the policy. That was moved from taken out of there. It's in the policy.
Okay,
So it doesn't belong in the AR because it actually is the policy that's written.
And I kind of suspected all of this, so I'm just kind of going through this because if I'm going to vote on it, I need to know.
Yeah, your AR's got this. Here's a good example of you change the salary schedules annually. If you give a cost of living increase, the salary schedule. So instead of adopting the whole policy, we change one page in the AR.
Yeah, okay. The next page is the compensation plan, and I noticed there's 34 grades. 34 seems like a lot, and this is something we don't need to debate right now, but have these numbers that are on here changed since 2014? They because you're scratching out 2014 and adding in 2021, but are the numbers different?
The grade numbers or the dollar
Yeah,
amounts?
the salary numbers, minimum, midpoint.
Oh, yeah, the salaries have changed since 2014.
Okay, so these reflect the new
But
ones.
You just changed it in July.
Okay, all right, we're getting there. Last one is, no, I don't think I have a last one. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you for your patience.
Mr. Chairman, can I comment on the compensation plan?
You may.
Compensation plan, we typically have done, if we have the money, the financing, the resources, we've done a cost of living. So we go by the national CPI, Consumer Price Index, and give in July, which is what we did this past July, an inflationary factor. When COVID hit, we did not give an increase and change the pay scale. But so we did a 3.7, which was the two prior years combined to get our pay scale up to the full inflation that had occurred during those 2 years. So a total of 3.7 is, what is that, 2.3 and 1.4 in July of 2021. And so that's why my first priority is keep our pay grades up with inflation.
Thank you. Jackie, do you care to speak?
Thank you. Every time we do a cost of living, whenever the board chooses to do a cost of living, that changes minimum, midpoint, and max. That's what goes into moving these. So some years it doesn't move at all. Some years it moves. Some years it moves twice to make up for last year's non-movement. Does that answer your question, Mr. Supervisor Christensen?
Yeah, thank you, Jackie. It's just, so when we have a grade, 170, 180, 190, et cetera, is that an advancement because of years served, or is there more of a factor involved in that?
So a grade 170, a certain class, I'm not sure there are any, all of the positions within Gila County fall within one of those grades. And the grade is established based on market. That's what we did back in 2012 and again in 2017. Those are market driven compared to our comparators. So entry level for a 260 is whatever. At this particular point, it's $33,375. The market study helped spread our jobs through those through those ranges. The range 33,375 as a beginning midpoint. This time next year or sometime in July, should the board choose to implement a cost of living CPI adjustment, that 33,375 likely will go up. So does the midpoint. So does the max. That's what moves the range. That's what moves these. Individuals moving through the range are placed, if an individual is hired into a position that is graded a 260, their education, their experience, there's a multitude of factors that go into where an individual gets placed above midpoint. And then should there ever be what we do historically have done at Gila County, which would include a merit increase. Should countywide we do the evaluations and people qualify for a merit increase, that moves people through the range. That doesn't move the range. So the one in July moves the range.
Okay. Thank you.
And each one of the grades has a number of different job classifications within that grouping.
Thank you.
Okay. Supervisor Klein, questions?
Alan, thank you for doing all this. Really appreciate it. But with these three documents, I have not had a chance to look at it all, but I'm going to. But back on this, because this is a real important part for our folks, is the pay scales. And so, excuse me, one of the things that I've seen and whatnot, when you're in one of those grades, a lot of people have sat there for years and years and years and have not moved. Did you address that anywhere in the HR policies?
No.
Okay, so the other thing that I was curious about prior to you, it seemed like we were kind of stuck on, regardless of experience, education, whatever, we were constantly coming in around the 10% penetration point on these spreads. Is there anything in our policies that says right now that we have to look at that, or is it solely based on somebody's expertise in education?
It's a good question. Yeah. I'm going to actually ask Julie
Mr. Chairman,
to up here for a second.
Supervisor Klein. As you know, with the last time we went through this salary survey, we did give people, we paid attention to years of direct experience both within the county and outside the county. We were able to move people through the pay ranges based on experience where that had never been done previously. So I'm not sure of your question of people have come in at one place and then have not moved for 10 years. I'm not sure of what exactly that question is.
We did that, James, and that was a good lick.
Yeah.
My question is like, okay, for instance, when we fly a position, we give the low and the high of the position. And then so people are looking at that, and maybe somebody's got 12 years of experience for this particular job, but they come in at less than 10% into the entry level. So what I'm saying is, are we covered here to solely go by education and experience?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Klein, that's why we do the merit increase, where you go through an evaluation and it's been, you get 1% to 3%, 3% for highly functioning employees that really excel at their jobs, 1% that there needs to be a work improvement plan program so that they can improve to that. So give that, and that moves employees through. We've done that every year except for last year due to COVID. We've moved people through the paying ranges. Most everyone has gotten a 2%, some high and some low.
Okay,
but those move you through.
Yeah,
the pay range.
I got that, James.
When you
But once
hire-
in it's new employees.
When you hire a new employee, there is a process for placing them in the salary schedule. Primarily, it's the education and work experience that places them recommended placement in the salary schedule. Is that correct, Julie? That's correct. Okay, got that right. Julie and Eric are the ones that place them in, but and again, as Mr. Mendes put, the movement through the thing is based primarily on merit increases. If there's no merit increases, sometimes your salary schedule will move faster than the people within it.
Right.
So you may move up to 12% and you don't get a merit increase for a few years and the salary schedule moves with the cost of living, you're back to 10.
One of the reasons I asked this too, and I'm really glad Steve asked the question on progression through these ranges, or these grades. If we really go in there and we put together training programs inside our county where we actually help people get certificates at a higher level, yada, 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 that needs to be reflected here. So that, let's just take our mechanics, for instance, is if we send a mechanic off to shop class that he earns that person 2 or 3 other certificates, it ought to be reflected in his pay scale. Not all mechanics across the board, but just that individual's pay scale, correct?
Yeah, I think I had those conversations just before I left. When you set up an intern program or you set up a program to get people certifications, most programs that have been developed around the world for that is for every certain amount level you hit, there's a kick on the salary.
Right. And so is that in our policies that are addressed?
Not yet, no.
Is it?
Because you don't have those programs in place yet.
Well, hopefully real soon we're going to have programs like that. And that's going to be a big benefactor to Gila County.
Yeah. And having this as an administrative procedure, when you develop that program, you just slide it in here.
Okay.
If you notice, we slid the one for we did the one for the sheriff's department for the step,
Right.
and that was placed in here. And that was a different reason, just to get them, try to hope retention. But as far as education and training, I would highly recommend that at certain milestones, and there's a lot of information out on the web about where and when to do that, but certain milestones would give you a kick in your salary.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Klein, a specific example of that is in our finance department. Nikki came into the finance department as an account clerk of doing accounting work, but at a lower level. at her own expense and her own time and everything she committed, and she has earned her bachelor's degree in accounting. So typically in that situation, that's a great employee that's invested to improve themselves and improve what they can do for the county. There's been nothing in the policies, nothing in our training, nothing allocated to recognize that. And that is definitely something, as you're pointing out, Supervisor Klein, that we need to address. And those discussions somewhat today have been around that. But that is absolutely something that needs to be addressed, that as you go out and get a certificate, go out and make progress that benefits the county, benefits themselves, then we need to recognize that, and compensation needs to be adjusted for that.
Thank you, James. Thank you, Alan.
Supervisor Klein, you good?
For now.
Okay, yeah, as well
So
as
the reason-
incentive to cross-train, because so many times we hear that because somebody was on vacation, there's no one to talk to for a week until they get back from vacation. So, you know, an incentive to cross-train or to learn a position within your department so that it helps us and the constituents to be able to talk to someone, even if someone goes on vacation, where a lot of times now, someone goes on vacation and, well, you just got to wait a week till they get back from vacation, and that hurts us a lot. So, okay, well, thank you very much for spending the time, energy, and effort to go through and help us get caught up on our policies
Again, I would
and
highly
procedures.
recommend that you do a complete, thorough review of your policies, no less than once a year. Again, things change so often that it's a living document. It's going to change constantly.
Yes, I would imagine it would. And so thank you for spending the time, and enjoy your vacation. Thanks for coming back to explain this to us.
Mr. Chairman, if there's one question I can ask of Mr. Bozami.
Yes.
This is a work session.
If you can get him back to the podium, you can ask him.
He's got his
He's
fishing
going
pole
back
in his
to
hand.
retirement.
There's fishing pole in his hand. This is a work session to discuss the HR policies and merit rules. When are we going to bring back to the Board of Supervisors for potential adoption of these policies and merit rules?
I don't know the specific date, but I know as far as putting these in final format shouldn't take more than about 10 days.
So part of this preempts under the part where we talk about new, things that you're going to share. So with a new HR director, it felt appropriate to let him have a few weeks to get comfortable with these. We have talked about the second meeting in October, as the time to come back for adoption. So that gives us a few more weeks if you go through it and have other questions. But we tentatively have it for the second meeting in October. We have had our HR outside attorney that works with ASIP has reviewed, and so we have his notes to kind of incorporate. So there could be a few other things besides pulling him into final format and making sure we haven't misspelled disciplinary, which it is, by the way, in this. But we're aiming for a month out, 3 weeks to a month out.
Mr. Chairman, I wanted to get a time frame for you as the board to be able to have time to go through it. It is a lot to digest, and it is a lot to grasp. So I want to make sure that the board and those that need to continue to look at things and make sure they're correct, how much time, if you'd prefer, if the third Tuesday in October is sufficient, or maybe the first meeting in November, if you have a preference as a board.
Supervisor Christensen, do you need more time than that?
No, I don't have a preference.
Supervisor Klein?
I'll be good in October. Yeah, and so if we have questions on this, who wants to answer them?
Julie? Or
So I think the question, Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Klein, questions can come back to that's why I want to give a little time to new HR director to get fully familiar
Just
with these.
jump in there, both feet. It's good.
He is. He feels like he's drinking from a fire hose. So HR director, I can help if he has questions, but HR director will be answering these questions and presenting for final format.
Okay.
And can I introduce him yet?
Why don't we go ahead and do that, if
All
that's all right,
right.
Mr. Chairman?
Come on
Go
up.
ahead.
So we have Mr. Rick Husk has come over from the county attorney's office, and he is our new HR director. And I wanted to introduce, and I feel like we need to at least give him a week to have gone through these things. Come on up, Rick.
Thank you. And good morning, and thank you very much. Appreciate it, Mr. Menlove, Chairman, members of the board. Thank you.
Thank
I look
you.
forward to delving into this and getting very familiar with it so I can address you all and answer your questions. And any time between now and then, I'm available.
Cool.
Great.
Well, we thank you, and if you jump in it and make any changes, we'll have another work session.
Yeah, sounds good to me. All right. And we'll invite Mr. Bolsami back.
Okay, well,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Welcome
you.
aboard.
Thank you. Welcome aboard.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman, can I
Yes.
get a little bit more about Mr. Husk, that he is working in the county attorney's office, carrying a load of 80 cases, one of their top attorneys. And so I'm going to owe Mr. Beauchamp favors from now till kingdom come. But we're grateful for him. Mr. Husk had started working with the county on our personnel commission and working with personnel law. And so he's continued to do that while he's been with Gila County in the county attorney's office, work with personnel. He knows personnel law, and that is one of our highest priorities in bringing Mr. Husk in. Mr. Husk has got the, I believe, right temperament and ability to work with employees and to be neutral in evaluating situations. Very high quality of temperament that I think is essential for our HR director, and to be able to resolve issues independently and not have biases. So we are very blessed and very fortunate. Mr. Bozami did a national recruiting process, and we got one applicant during that national recruiting process. The applicant came and visited Gila County and said they couldn't find housing in the Globe Miami area. So that person declined employment. Surprising how sometimes something that changes, we come up with a better solution, and Mr. Husk is the solution. So I'm very thankful he accepted and is in this role for Gila County.
Well, thank you for that. And Mr. Husk, thank you for taking on the challenge of helping us with our employees in employment of Gila County. That seems to be one of our low points right now, is needing employees. So thank you very much for jumping in to help us. And if there's nothing further, I'll move on.
I would just like to say that it sounds like Supervisor Klein and I agree in this incentive program. We likely would like to see something come forward on that. I'm thinking, would you agree with that?
100%. Yeah.
Okay. So we look forward to maybe looking at options there. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to regular agenda item 3. Call to the public. Do we have any public and Payson that would like to address the board today?
No, sir.
Do we have any public here in Globe that would like to address the board today? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I could.
We have the county manager wishing to address the board again today. Go ahead, Mr. Minlow.
Well, this letter that you were addressed to you had some questions that I felt appropriate to bring up in the call to the public.
Okay.
And so if I may identify the items, and then the proper department can respond and answer to these.
Sure.
That this is not on BOS work study agenda, but perhaps a department can clarify. Question is regarding volunteers who serve on the Board of Adjustment and the Planning and Zoning Commission, both of which come under community development. Planning and Zoning has 9 members, of which 3, Myers, Goslin, and Nye, also serve on the 3-person Board of Adjustment. As a member of the public, I'm curious as to what the tie-in is between P&Z and BOA. Quote, perhaps the Gila County Board of Adjustment rules on variance and interpretation requests of the Gila County zoning ordinance and approves issuance of temporary use permits. Is it correct protocol to allow the same 3 members to serve on both the P&Z Commission and Board of Adjustment? Would they not at times be deciding a topic that has been presented to them before when serving on other board or commission? My other question is there a time limit on the number of years a volunteer can serve at the request of the BOS? Some are serving on P&Z 13 and 11 years and counting. While I commend them for the service, some people believe it is time for a fresh look. Thank you for your kind attention. That is addressed from Pam Mason in Pine.
Okay, thank you. And I did respond to that. And my response to that was, we do need people on these boards. These boards are volunteer people. It seems that we have a difficult time in finding volunteers to sit on a lot of these boards, especially like planning and zoning, where people are wanting to do things and it's a little out of bounds of norm. And so trying to figure that out. So when I was elected, we didn't have a full planning and zoning board. So the people that needed to go before planning and zoning, there was nowhere to go. And so with us on YouTube and things, if anyone cares to volunteer for some of these boards, we're constantly looking for volunteers because it's not easy. It does take time. It does take a commitment and a certain amount of responsibility to sit on these boards, and you get nothing from it other than the fact that you're willing to do it. And so filling these boards is extremely difficult. So it's hard to get into how many years of service someone has, or are they capable, or are they liable, or are they sitting on too many boards? Because we really search hard to find people to sit on these boards. And that's kind of was my response in an email form to this person. And we're constantly looking for qualified people that are willing to help us help the constituents of Gila County. And there's just not people lined up out there to jump in and help us, even with the IDA. There's just not a lot of people standing. So if anyone is willing to sit on some of these boards, by all means, contact Supervisor Klein or Supervisor Christensen, Marianne Shepard, or I. Just reach out if you would care to sit on one of these boards, because we do have difficulties filling them, and now that they are filled, at least the constituents have somewhere to go with their planning and zoning with their projects, rather than not having a quorum to answer their questions or to help them with their difficulties. So, okay. You're welcome. And so going forward to regular agenda item 4, at any time during the meeting pursuant to ARS 38-431.02K, members of the Board of Supervisors and County Manager may present a brief summary of current events. No action may be taken on information presented. Mr. Menlove, would you care to go first?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. In addition to Mr. Husk as our new HR director, we have a new IT director. And if it's all right, I'd like Miss Jackie Sanders, Deputy County Manager, to introduce our new IT director.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, I believe, Mr. Chairman, you met Mike Roybal yesterday.
I did.
We have, I'm pleased to announce we have a new IT director, and Mike Roybal. Mike's a hometown fellow and happy to come back and get on board. And do you have anything you'd like to say, Mike?
Just good morning. Thank you all for choosing me, Mr. Menlove, Supervisor Klein, Supervisor Christensen, Chairman Humphrey. Just glad to be here. It's good to see Globe again and be here today. so.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Also drinking from a fire hose.
okay, Supervisor Christensen, questions, comments? for our
No, just welcome aboard. Thank you for serving us.
Supervisor Klein?
Same with me. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good. We spoke yesterday. Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
thank you very much. Yes, sir.
can I did not sit
You
on.
may.
Thank you. I didn't sit on the interview panel, but Ms. Sanders and a team did sit on the interview panel, and this is a shining star from those interviewees that we had for IT director that answered every question they had directly, succinctly, and knew what he was doing. So we're very, very, very fortunate to have him as a part of our IT team and part of Gila County. So I appreciate your willingness to come here and come back to Globe in Gila County. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right.
Great, okay. Thank you very much. Supervisor Christensen, do you have anything to share with us today?
Yeah, just not too much, though. I met with Matt Pachorik last week, and he is the Payson Ranger for the Tono Forest up there, and so we all know him. Anyway, we talked about Fry and we talked about Fossil Creek, so we're kind of getting back on track to get some of those projects going again. He seemed very excited about it, and that's good because we need to be excited about moving forward. I asked him what the holdup is and on some of the decisions, and some of those decisions are actually his to make. It's just, I guess, he doesn't feel like the timing is quite right on some of them. But I really think we're going to gain a lot here pretty soon with the Fossil Creek situation. Fry was a little confusing. I am going to be meeting with the Eco Board in Prescott on Thursday morning for breakfast, so we'll discuss Fry and where we're at with that. Matt seemed to indicate we're getting back into it. They're going to put out requests for proposals again, so it's not dead in the water, but it got everybody pretty upset. On Saturday, I was in a play. I played Samuel Adams in a 1776 reenactment of the signing of the Declaration, which was pretty cool. And of course, tomorrow we head over to Prescott for the CSA. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Supervisor Klein?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So last week, on the 22nd, 23rd, we had our workforce board retreat in Young. Went really well. A lot of good information, a lot of good discussion there. Last Friday, Mr. Minlove and Sherry both came to Young, and we took a tour through the admin site, the Pleasant Valley Veterans Camp now, and had a really good discussion on all that and got to really dive into a lot that's going on there. And then tomorrow, the bill to transfer the ownership of the site is going to be introduced by Senator Kelly and co-sponsored by Senator Sinema in the state and Representative Gosar in the House. So those bills are going in for conveyance tomorrow. I don't know how long the process will take after that. It changed on acreage just a little bit. They had sent back a Forest Service map of the site, and when we looked at it, it really didn't take in about 2/3 of what's on that site. And so between the ranger and Payson, Matt Machorik, and myself, we sat down and drafted that map and put it back like it should be. And so the acreage went from about 85 acres to 232 acres. So it grew, but that's what it took to encompass that site. And what I mean by that is the sewer system, the buildings, and the way they're positioned on that admin site. And so that map went back. It's going in as part of those bills, and hopefully we'll see that finalized here, I don't know, maybe a month or two, but sometime soon. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Just wondering if you could sit down with him and change the map of the 203 road.
We could try.
Okay. Yeah, we can't let that die. It just kind of goes away. Anyway, I had some dumpsters in Gila on Saturday. They filled 2 dumpsters there. It's nice to reach out and help them because it's a ways from either one of the dollar dump days. Spoke on Kiko Radio spoke on KQSS radio on Kiko. I had Tom Goodman with me. On KQSS, I had Carl Melford with me, talking about some of the things that we've been doing for the public through all the floods and things. And we're not getting any call-ins, but that's okay. We're trying to be as formative as we can. So if anyone out there listening has anything that they would like me to bring up on these radio stations, feel free to let me know, and I'll bring that information in and share it with you. Attended a Rural Transportation Advocacy Zoom meeting. We have a Rural Transportation Summit coming up. Attended a CAG, Central Arizona Regional Council meeting, and tomorrow off to Prescott for legislative policies. So that's about where I'm at right now, and if anyone has anything else. If not, Sandy and Robert, thank you for being here today, and I will adjourn today's meeting.